Hello all, and welcome to our webinar today on Moodle Workplace. Okay. So, first of all, here's me, Deborah Quaderlow, an e-learning consultant here in Enovation, and there are my contact details. So, my phone number and email address, and I will put them up at the end as well. So you'll be able to get in touch if you need to. So first of all, a bit of housekeeping. I have muted everybody, so if you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to put them in the chat, but I'll be looking at that at the end. We'll have a bit of a Q&A at the end. Okay, so now just a brief introduction of Enovation ourselves. So we work mainly with open source platforms, Moodle, which I'm sure you all know of, the very popular LMS. Originally it was mainly for the education sector, but seeing as about 60% of their revenue was from businesses, corporates, that's why they created Moodle Workplace, which we are going to look at today, with a focus on the multi-tenancy feature. So, and then we've got Tatara as well, which is originally they were with Moodle and then they branched off for an enterprise version of the LMS. So, and then there's Aura Talent, which is our in-house solution, which is employee-centric talent management solution. So that helps you help your employees to improve and to move on through the ranks of the company. And to note, we are now ISO 27001 certified. That is a recent certification, and which basically means that we're compliant with the most recent regulatory and legislative requirements for managing and protecting information. So all of that GDPR stuff, fully compliant with the most recent requirements. Okay, now our services, what we cover: consulting, content creation, that would be bespoke, SCORM content and all of that, and as well off the shelf with Go1, content library, development and training, hosting, and throughout all of that, of course, we provide support. Our offices, we've got offices here in Ireland, in France, in Poland, and in the US now as well. And there we have a few of our quite well-known clients. So now to move on to our focus of today, Moodle Workplace, and mainly focusing on multi-tenancy. We did do a webinar a while back on Moodle Workplace in general, so we won't go in detail into each of the different features, but we'll focus on how they work with multi-tenancy. So who is Workplace for and the multi-tenancy feature? Well, here are a few just ideas. Basically, it's for everybody, but here are a few ideas of how it could be used. So companies with different regions, divisions, departments, franchises, stores. So there are a lot of companies that have, toy stores, supermarkets. You could have various different stores that you want to keep separate, the higher management hierarchy and learners, users separate. Training centers, say language training centers, for example, if you've got a few throughout the country or across the world. University, different campuses or different schools within a university, so the engineering school, the business school, for example. And then hospital departments. For many reasons, you might want to keep the various different departments separate. It might just be for simplicity, for organization, or it might be that you don't want the users to see who is in the other departments. So you can have different reasons, and multi-tenancy can work well for pretty much everybody. So Workplace itself, these are the main features that make it different to Moodle as it is. So obviously the multi-tenancy feature, and all of the other features are multi-tenant. So next one, organizations. You can have your own organization structure set up, and within each tenant you have a separate organization structure. Reports, again, you see reports for the users within your tenant. Dynamic rules, you can set up your learning to all users to be assigned learning automatically, to receive certificates automatically using these dynamic rules, and they are also set up per tenant. Okay. Programs and certifications, again, per tenant. Certificates, customized per tenant. And then the Workplace app, this again, when a learner connects, they will see only the learning assigned to their particular tenant, and the users, if you allow them to see users, they would only see for their tenant. So if we look a little deeper into the multi-tenancy feature, so this, you can manage and customize the different tenants and compartmentalize the learners and their learning. So here we can see one tenant that we can see the main site administrator. So this would be where we see each of the active tenants from the main site administrator point of view, because it is one site. If for GDPR purposes, for data, you need to keep the data separate for each tenant, then Moodle Workplace would not really be the solution for you if you need the data in different databases. In this case, it is one site, so all the users on the site are in the same database, and the main site administrator has access to all of the different tenants and the users and the learning categories. They have access to everything, and for data requests, policy acceptance, things like that. Okay. Then within a tenant, they can set up so the tenant name, they can set up who the administrator of that particular tenant will be, and they can choose the category that of courses that they will have access to. So you can give access to all courses, or you can restrict access to a particular category of courses. Okay, so here we see the the tenant administrator, and we see the category of courses, food and beverage. And then within each tenant, you can customize the look and feel. So here you can see the header logo, but you can also have different colors. Like here, the main tenant is green, but then others can be a different color, different logo, a different background image on the login screen. You can customize for each tenant. Okay. Now, this follows on to within each tenant, you can set up your own individual framework. So here we see we're now in the tenant, food and beverage, and we see the department framework here. And then this tab here, positions, we see all of the different positions, kitchen manager, head chef, etc., within those departments. And then you can assign departments and positions to particular users, giving them a job assignment. So we see Alan has the position of sous chef in the department kitchen. And when we set up the role of well, here we can see above kitchen manager, it's a department manager set up when we created that position, and we can give permissions to assign learning or to view reports and to see notifications. Okay, so this is all per tenant. Okay, and next, reports. Again, here we see users that are in this tenant only. So we see reports. You can see the different roles there and department, kitchen. These are all users within the tenant food and beverage. You don't see reports on anybody else. Okay, so certificates and completion of those certificates, and we can see the status there. Again, per tenant, and this is really easy setup, drag and drop feature. You can set filter, you can set sorting, you can set access to the reports. You can actually schedule those reports to be sent out to individuals or to audiences. So they could actually be sent to everybody in the kitchen, for example. And next up, we have, there we go, dynamic rules. Again, dynamic rules can be set within the department. They're not set at a site level, they're set at a tenant level, and you can assign learning automatically. Programs and certifications. So programs would be a learning path, a collection of courses together, and you can have sets within those learning paths, and you can say what order or how many of each courses, which ones have to be done. You can set expiry dates for certifications, which would be a learning path, but that can be renewed. And you can set dynamic rules for what happens when somebody is certified, if they receive a certificate, like we see here, or what happens when they are expired. So, and then certificates, again, this can be per tenant. You can create your own customized certificate per tenant, and then use dynamic rules to issue them automatically on completion of a certification, for example. And each of the users, when they've been issued a certificate, they can see them in their own profile. So they can see exactly when it was awarded, and they can download it. Okay. And then we've got the Workplace app. Again, when someone logs into the Workplace app, they will see the learning that is allocated to their tenant only. They won't see the learning allocated to others. So, but from the site administration point of view, the main site administrator, they are the ones that would restrict a tenant to a particular category of courses. Now, when I say category, you can have subcategories in there. So each tenant can organize their learning into different categories as well within their allocated main category. Okay. So now that we've gone through that, we are going to take a look at this multi-tenancy in action. Okay. So let me just click here to open the platform, and we can see the background login background image for the main tenant. This would be because I'm going to log in as the main site administrator. Okay, so on the main site, we go straight into the dashboard. You can go into the site homepage if we want to, but if we want to really use the multi-tenancy feature, it would be better for each user to go straight into their dashboard and not to see the main site page. And of course, this dashboard can be customized. Here we've got a timeanddate.com clock slotted in there in the HTML block. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want. And as the main site administrator, you can see I can click between tenants. I can access each of the different tenants. I have here a great quick access menu, which is a particularly workplace feature, and I can go straight to the various different features where I have access as the main site administrator. If I go over to the left here, I also have access to the site administration menu. And you can see it's similar to the standard Moodle site administration menu. It's just that we would have extra features like here, dynamic rules, which is the added Moodle Workplace feature. And if I go through users, I can see manage tenants here. And if I go to learning, here we can see the added features of programs and certifications. Okay, so as the main site administrator, if I click on manage courses and categories, I will be able to see the usual Moodle view of courses and categories. So I see here, see this category here, food and beverage training. This is what the food and beverage tenant is restricted to. They can only see this category and the subcategory in there. If you had more subcategories, then they'd be able to see that as well, but nothing above this food and beverage training category. Okay, we can see here work plus learning and company. If I click at the top here for the menu, we see a work plus tenant. They are restricted to the work plus learning category, and this one here, company, a generic tenant title, is restricted to the category company there. Okay, the main tenant is not restricted to any category. Okay, if I click back out to site administration then, and click on users, I can see now how I can manage tenants here. Okay, so again, this is the main site administrator has access to this. Each of the tenant administrators would not have access to this. Okay, so if I click here, we can see rural hotels. It's the food and beverage one that we're looking at. We can see that there are 11 users in there. We can see that it's restricted to food and beverage training. And if I click on the arrow here, we can go in and we can see the users that are in that tenant. And we can see the roles in there. So we can see that there's someone called Anne Stein is the tenant administrator, and tenant manager again is listed as Anne Stein. And appearance, we can see there the logo. It's a blue turquoisey color. We can see the background login image of this lovely Vereen, and we can see the colors that are chosen. We've got this bluey turquoisey color there. And advanced, we can put in custom CSS to really customize it, and that would be for the logo up at the top. So it's the site logo. We did similar to this one here. We edited the width to get a slightly bigger logo showing. And then the footer text, food and beverage. Here we can see the footer text is Enovation, but when we log in as the tenant administrator, we'll be able to see that that changes there, and the colors, the look changes, and we'll see the different logo there. Okay, so if I click back out a bit further, okay, and instead, if I click to edit this tenant, we can see the name of the tenant, we can see the ID number. So with CSV uploads, we can allocate users directly to this tenant using the ID number here. Okay, and so we've got the administrator. We can select, as main site administrator, we can select who we want as the tenant administrator, and we can select the category that they are restricted to. Okay, no category, new category, or choose an existing category. Okay, so what we're going to do now is look directly at the, this is the tenant A administrator. So this would be, we saw there when we looked in the theme, the look and feel, we saw this Vereen, and that's the login background image. And if I click to log in there as the tenant administrator, we see something different. So now we see the team because everybody on the site, she as the tenant administrator is also the director of this department, you see. So she has all of these people in her team under her, and we can see if we click kitchen manager, we can see what learning he has done and his job assignment there. And overdue certifications 1, oh, that's not good. Overdue programs 2. Okay, so we can also have our menu here, our quick access menu, but the access to this, it would be different. So if we click on the left here, site administration, we can see as well, it's not at all the same menu as the main site administrator has. They see everything associated with their own tenant. They don't have access to any other tenants or, the overall picture. Okay, so if I go in, first of all, to tenant personalization here, appearance, tenant personalization, we can see we're straight in and we can see what the main site administrator was able to do. But I don't have a drop down to go between tenants. So I can see only the look and feel for my own. Same image there and the colors all of there. So there we go. You can edit all of that. And we can see the users in our tenant. They're all here. And if I click back again to set up, look more further at the users. So we've got our list of users here, but what's interesting is the organizational structure. So this is where we set it up. First, we go into departments, create our department framework. So this is only within our tenant. We don't see any frameworks for other departments, other tenants. We can set these up and then we can set up the positions as well here. And for each position, we can choose what information they're allowed to see as well. Okay, so if I were to click on edit position here, we can see we gave permission as a department manager, but not to allocate programs or certifications, but to view reports and receive notifications. So you can pick and choose. And then you set the job assignments for each person. Okay. Okay, there, and this is how we would do it. Just click new job assignment and choose the user, the position, department. But all of this can be done automatically through CSV upload. Okay, or you can connect with your HR system, same way as a Moodle site would do. So you can set up in a similar way. Okay, then if we click back out to site administration, we can see dynamic rules. So here we can see all users that are allocated to department food and beverage, allocate them to the program induction. So basically everybody in this tenant automatically allocated to the program induction. Okay, and this is very easy to set up. So that's this here, the arrow. If I click in, we can see lots of different conditions that we can use. Has the position, is in department, not in department, certification certified or expired, member of cohort, course completed, user profile field, etc. And then you can set the actions that you want to happen all automatically. Enroll into a course, issue certificate, allocate to programs, and all of this can be done automatically once they're set up. Now, if I go into the learning, so we see here programs and certifications. If I go into the programs, you can see there, you can set it up, and within each one, you can add in your courses, add in sets of courses, say what order or how many must be done, and then the overall. You can schedule, say that it must be completed within 1 week or whatever you want. And then dynamic rules, you can say that when they're completed, then they get the certificate induction cert. So the dynamic rules can be set at a tenant level or within programs or within certifications. And then you can see reports on, if we go back to site administration again, you can see reports, custom reports on all of your learning within the tenant. So this is the one that we saw in the PowerPoint before. So this is how it's set up. You just drag and drop. You literally just drag and drop items and they will appear in the report. Okay, and then you can have conditions, filters, sorting. You can set all of that, and you can see who has access to the report, and you can also schedule the report to be sent to various people. So if I edit this, we can see schedule reports. You can say recurrence, daily, weekly, monthly. View the report as, so this would be the tenant manager's viewpoint, and then who this would be sent to. And you can choose department and you can choose positions, who it's sent to, and then you have a custom message that can be sent out as well. So if somebody needs to see particular reports, but they can't always be logging into the site, then they can receive the report. Okay. So we're going to, that would be then the tenant administrator point of view, and we're going to take a look at this from the viewpoint of the tenant manager. Okay. Now, tenant A manager. I wonder, did I put in the wrong password? Okay, so we're in here as the manager in tenant A. So you can see that the background login image was the same for the tenant A administrator. Same look and feel. And here we can see his team. So this guy is the kitchen manager. So he only sees members of the sub-department kitchen. Okay, because there was another for, I think it's restaurant. And he can't see anybody in there because they're not members of his team. Okay, and he can also see his learning there. Programs appear in this tab, and separately courses that have been individually assigned would appear here. Okay, and then if he clicks on here, he doesn't have access to all of the same things as the tenant administrator would have access to, but he does see reports. So if I click on here, we can see the reports that he, as manager, is allowed access to. So you can see he can't edit them, but he can view the reports that are assigned to him. This menu can be closed down, so we can see here, and the reports can be exported by CSV as well. Okay. Now we'll have a quick look. Going to just see his team member, Barry, here. So we can see this is his learning, main dishes chef in the department kitchen, and we can see he's got some certifications expired, completed programs too. We're going to have a quick look from the learner viewpoint in this tenant. Okay, so delete this, and so here we go. So his dashboard, we can see there's no team tab because he's not a manager of anybody. He has his programs, and he hasn't finished this one. So you've got your button, click to continue directly. We can see he's finished this, but it is expired. And he has finished this certification, and it's just completed, it's not expired. So this is his view, and then courses, we can see he's enrolled separately into this course. and he's achieved some badges from course completion. And if I click on his profile, okay, I can see the certificates that he has received by clicking here on My Certificates. Okay, so these are the certificates that he has received before and he can download. So that would be from a learner point of view. So you can see he can only see courses and programs that he has been enrolled in. Okay, so I think we have done the lap of all of the features in Moodle Workplace, and you can see all of the features, in fact, are per tenant. If you want it to be that way, you can actually have just one single tenant on a Moodle Workplace site if you want to, and still use all of the new features like program certifications, dynamic rules, and all of that. Okay, so now next up, Moodle Workplace 3.8 was actually released a couple of days ago. So there are a couple of new features already available. One of them is appointments booking, which would be for face-to-face sign-ups, so you can keep records online. Very handy feature. And then recertification. So that would mean that any completions within courses contained in the certification would be wiped, and on your dashboard you would see previous completions listed, and then you can start again afresh. Okay, so it's possible to do it now, but this is all now automated. So, and in January 3.9 will be coming out, so that's very soon. And here the big feature in that version will be tenant allocation via dynamic rules. So currently, similar to regular Moodle, you use CSV upload, to create users. But now, if users create accounts themselves, self-enrolled, email-based account creation, you can then allocate them directly into the correct tenant, which is great. And then in future releases, there'll be even more improvements to the reporting feature, and there'll be individual dashboards. So at the moment, it's one single dashboard that is automatically adapted to the particular role of the user, whether they've got team members or not, but it's still one single dashboard. So there'll be various different ones for different types of users and tenants and whatnot. So there we go. That's a lot. So if you've got any questions now, you don't hesitate to put them into the chat. And please note there my contact details as well, which I will put into the chat. My email address. So now, just going to type my address in there for anybody that needs to get in touch. There we go. And you can see the LinkedIn handles and Twitter, and our US Twitter handle as well is there. So lots of different ways to get news from us and to get in touch. And as I say, we did do a Moodle Workplace webinar recently going into more detail in all of the different features like programs and certifications and reports and how we actually set them up. So do get in touch if you would like to see the recording of that webinar. Okay. Somebody's asking, will there be other webinars? There will indeed, yes. There will be, let's just get a quick look there. Upcoming webinars, there's one on the 27th of November, and that is Simplifying Compliance, Make Your Training Management Seamless. So that should be quite interesting. And then on the 3rd of December, the Boost Your Moodle Skills with the Moodle Educator Certification Program, the MEC program. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that will be, that's available now. You can sign up to learn how to become a Moodle educator and learn all of the various different features. So, can you get multi-tenancy feature into Tara? Yes and no. Currently, you can separate your learning into Tara via audience. You know, you can have different dashboards and whatnot, but they will be releasing a multi-tenancy feature in January, I believe. It was due to come out later, but I think the Moodle Workplace platform kind of boosted them to get it out sooner. But in fact, it would be similar in, you know, that it's still one site, even if there are different tenants. Okay. Let's see. Does multi-tenancy work for universities? Oh, yes, well, multi-tenancy would work for really anybody at all. You know, I mentioned earlier with the list of various different organizations, companies that would benefit from it. In universities, you can have, often there are various different campuses that make up one university. And you could have a different tenant for each of those campuses. So that would be a handy way of organizing. How many tenants can you create? Well, you can have between zero. You can have between 1 and unlimited. You can really have as many as you need. You can set it to unlimited. You can restrict the maximum number of tenants if you want to set it up that way. So because you could have, you have your main site administrator, but then you could have managers at an overall site level, and you might want to prevent them from creating more and more tenants for reasons like space, on the server. What's this now? Do you give Moodle Workplace training as well? Well, of course, yes. We give training on all of the platforms that we work with. So definitely, just don't hesitate to get in touch. My email address is in the chat there. And if I click back a slide, where is it now? There. My phone number is there as well, email address and phone number. So don't hesitate to get in touch if you'd like to see a demo focusing on your individual particular needs, or we can go out to your premises and give training on Moodle Workplace in your place as well. Can you customize a platform for us? Yes. As you can see, each tenant can customize their own look and feel, and but even at a site level, you don't have to use the Moodle Workplace theme. It's the one that works best and, in my own personal opinion, looks best, but you can actually use any theme that has been adapted for Moodle Workplace, because of course there are those new features that weren't in Moodle itself. But I think it's the Lambda theme, for example, that one has already been adapted for Workplace, so that can be used instead of the Moodle Workplace theme if you want. Okay, does anyone have any more questions? Okay, so I think that's it if there's nothing else coming up. Okay, you're very welcome. So don't hesitate. There are those 2 other webinars coming up. On the 27th of November, Simplifying Compliance, and on the 3rd of December, both at 10 a.m. GMT, because we are in Ireland, and on the 3rd of December, it's the MEC program, looking at that, so that should be very interesting. So it's been lovely having you all here this morning, and I look forward to our next webinar. Okay, thank you all for joining. Okay.